All right, curious minds, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little bit different because our source material isn't just about a specific topic. It's really about the nature of information itself. We're zeroing in on just one thing, a CNN report from July 9, 2025, titled Trump's Tariff Letters. Now, our mission today, it isn't really to dissect the specific words in those letters. We haven't actually been given the full text. Instead, we're going to try and unpack the implications, the deeper meaning, of a document like Trump's tariff letters being reported on by a major news outlet like CNN. What does just the existence of that report tell us?
It's fascinating, isn't it, how the mere fact of a specific official communication, even if the details are, mostly hidden from view, how that alone can become such a point of public discussion and analysis. It really pushes us to think about the ongoing relevance of certain policy debates and the sometimes very subtle channels they use to surface, even just that headline, like Trump's tariff letters from CNN. That signals that this topic, tariffs, it's still very much alive, still potentially influential in the public sphere.
Yeah, that's a really crucial distinction you're making, moving beyond just, okay, some information exists.
Yeah.
So if we accept that the mention itself is important, let's go a bit deeper there. What specific purpose might CNN have in highlighting something so opaque? Is it like to remind us of past policies, or maybe prime us for future debates? Or could it even be, indirectly trying to shape current political narratives?
Precisely. It's a classic case of strategic signaling, really.
Right.
For instance, the news outlet might be indicating that this issue may be tariffs. Even if it seems dormant, it still holds sway over, say, investor confidence or international talks, that kind of thing. Or, looking at it politically, it could be a deliberate sort of preemptive move by one side, reminding the public about a certain policy stance, maybe. Or perhaps it's a calculated effort just to keep a specific policy idea relevant, regardless of whether any new action is actually imminent. Think of it almost like an info op, an information operation, where the very framing of a topic, even without fresh data, can actually shift perceptions or apply pressure.
That's fascinating. It's almost like a political ghost story. We hear these whispers, right? Trump's tariff letters, reported by CNN. But the actual text, it stays largely out of sight, hidden. So the puzzle for us isn't about what the letters say. It's about why their mere shadow is considered newsworthy. But couldn't a report like this, lacking specific content, could that also be seen as maybe a bit manipulative? Or even, a distraction from other things? How do listeners navigate that kind of ambiguity?
That's a really valid point, and an important concern about, information quality. I think the key for the listener, for you, is to try and recognize why something is being reported. What's the goal? Is it simply to inform? Is it to provoke a reaction? Or maybe to set an agenda? In this specific case, the lack of explicit detail, it actually forces us to focus on the meta message, the bigger picture, if you like, which is that tariffs, or perhaps the influence of past administrations, they're still considered relevant enough to warrant major media attention. It's about trying to discern the signal strength. While any report from a major outlet carries weight, sure, understanding the intensity of that signal requires context. Who's reporting it? What else is happening in the world? What are the historical patterns for this sort of information release?
Right. So what does all this really mean for you, the listener?
This deep dive, I think, really reminds us that understanding information isn't always about the explicit details. Sometimes it's about the context. It's about the fact that something exists in the news cycle at all. The reporting on Trump's tariff letters, even without us seeing the full text, it just vividly underscores the continued importance of trade policy. As a subject of communication and news, it tells us these topics are still active, still relevant, even if the specifics are, behind the curtain.
Absolutely. It serves as a powerful reminder, I think, that official communications, regardless of whether they're immediately released to the public or not, they're always part of some larger narrative. They shape expectations. They shape how we reflect on policy direction. The very act of CNN reporting on these letters tells us the conversation around tariffs and trade. It's active. It's influential. It pushes us, really, to consider the implications beyond just the surface level.
So a final thought for you to take away. What other known unknowns are out there? Or maybe deliberately opaque communications? What else do you think is exerting significant, maybe unseen influence in today's world, simply by being mentioned? Something to think about.